So this is an OR gate, and the OR gate is simply the opposite of the NOR gate, which means that if at least one of the inputs is 1, so if either of these buttons are pressed or both of them are pressed, then the output should also be 1. So if the output is LED, that means the LED should turn on. Now, it looks really similar to the NOR gate, and that's because we simply reversed the NOR gate's output with a NOT gate. So the output of the NOR gate is fed into a NOT gate, so it turns from a NOR to an OR. And in fact, I challenged myself to build both the NOR gate and the OR gate without looking at the schematics, the official schematics, and only looking at what the schematics provided in your explanation of the video. So this might be a little rough around the edges. But basically, this brown wire over here is what controls this transistor. So if there's a voltage through this wire, it goes into the gate of this transistor, which means that the source and the drain are now connected. And if you look on the source's side, you'll see that there's a resistor that feeds into an LED, and the LED is connected to ground. So obviously, because if there's a voltage into the gate and these are connected, because the drain of the transistor is connected to ground by this wire, and this wire has a lower resistance than the LED, it means that when this brown wire has a voltage through it, there won't be any current through the LED, so the LED stays off. But if there's no current through this brown wire, the gate receives no voltage, so the source and the drain aren't connected, so the only pathway for the current to take is into this resistor, into this LED, and into ground, so the LED turns on. And the way to control the voltage to this brown wire is really simple. So we have a resistor from VCC into this row over here, and you'll notice that there's 3 wires, the brown, the orange, and the gray. And the idea is, if either of these buttons are pressed, so if this button is pressed, the current will go into the resistor, into this orange wire, and out of this gray wire into ground, because there's now voltage at the gate, so the source and the drain are connected. And this means that no voltage goes into the brown wire, so this turns on. Similarly, if this button is pressed, current will go into this long gray wire and out through this orange wire into ground, because there's voltage at the gate, and so this source and this drain are connected. So if either of these buttons are pressed, this brown wire receives no voltage at all, so the gate has no voltage, which means the only pathway to take is resistor to LED to ground. So if I press this button, it turns on. If I press this button, it turns on. And if I press both of these buttons, it also turns on. And that's an OR gate, because if at least one of the inputs are pressed, the LED turns on.